Diagnosis Record 1 of Su Jiu. What's your name? My name is Miao Xiaomi. Isn't his name Su Jiu? How could he say he's Miao Xiaomi? It seems like he could try some different medicinal herbs. Diagnosis Record 2 of Su Jiu. What's your name? My name is Su Jiu. This time I finally got it right. It seems that the types of medicinal herbs I changed are effective. Which ones are they? I will go back and look for them. There should be records, there should be some. Chapter 1. Diagnosis Records of Su Jiu. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On August 22, the 9th year of the Tianheng calendar, the sun remained so scorching that there was no hint of rain in the sky. Dr. Fang is conducting an examination on Su Jiu, who has just woken up, at the Zhixing College, Front Yard, and Medical Clinic. Diagnosis Record 1 of Su Jiu. Su Jiu, 9 years old, comes from a village. Half a month ago, she fell into a coma and was taken to the hospital by someone. Dr. Fang looked at the record and didn't feel that there was much information. He needed to ask in detail so that it would be convenient for treatment later. I am a doctor here. You can call me our doctor. Where else do you feel uncomfortable now? Su Jiu originally wanted to get up, but was unsuccessful. Instead, she felt her head shaking and she felt dizzy. I feel a bit dizzy. Well, it's a normal phenomenon. After all, you've been in a coma for quite a long time. Just take a good rest and let's have a brief chat. Okay, you can ask Dr. Fang. What's your name? My name is Miao Xiaomi. Dr. Fang heard Su Jiu say his name is Miao Xiaomi and thought to himself, why don't you remember your name? It might be because you just woke up, so you need to take a good look. Sorry, could you continue and tell me what happened before you fell into a coma? Su Jiu seemed surprised when she heard him say this, and turned her head to look around. Dr. Fang, why are you asking these questions? Shouldn't it be the police asking? And why haven't you seen the police? Forget it, I'll just tell you. I was walking on the road that day when I saw a car from afar trying to overtake. You don't know how narrow the road is, but you still want to overtake. At that time, he only focused on overtaking and did not see a child running in front of the car in front. You said that the current child is running around on the road, so there must be no accident. As the car was about to collide with the child, I impulsively ran over and pulled the child over. Alas, I didn't expect to have an old problem at that time. In a panic, I was hit by 2 cars. After the collision, I felt like I had flown so far, and just as I was about to wake up, there was a loud noise coming from my ear. My consciousness became blurry for a moment, and then I didn't know anything. Dr. Fang heard what Su Jiu said about police, roads, and cars, but he never heard of them. He didn't expect that Su Jiu would have memory problems after waking up, and he didn't know who he was. It seemed that the medicinal herbs he had prepared before were not good, so he needed to try different ones. What is a car? Upon hearing Dr. Fang's confusion, Su Jiu turned her head and looked at Dr. Fang, who was dressed in a white robe by the bed. Upon closer inspection, it seemed that his white robe was somewhat different. Perhaps this was the case in the city. Dr. Fang, please don't tease me. How could you not know what a car is? A doctor like you should have his own. You don't know, every doctor in our village pharmacy has a car, let alone a doctor in a big city like you. After Su Jiu finished speaking, she looked around again and felt that the room environment was not like that of a big city, but rather like that of ancient times. Dr. Fang, which hospital is this? Why are you alone and haven't seen any other doctors, nurses, or patients? During my coma, hasn't anyone notified my family to come over? Speaking of which, Su Jiu paused for a moment. No, are you afraid that I might make things worse, which is why you brought me to such a remote place? Don't worry, I'm looking forward to enjoying my life and I won't cause trouble for nothing. You don't know, my ancestors have been farmers for 3 generations. Finally, In my generation, my son passed the exam and was admitted to a university, which is still a prestigious institution. But it has given me a face. I was originally going to the city for medical treatment this time, but later I wanted to stop by and see him. I'm not afraid you'll laugh at me. I said I was going to see him, but in fact, I wanted to see what college looks like. The villagers all say that going to university will make you look cultured. I want to go and see it so that I can show off to them when I go back. Alas, I didn't expect to encounter this on the way there, and I don't know how the child I saved is doing now. Upon hearing what Su Jiu said, Dr. Fong felt as if everything was true, but he knew it was impossible because Su Jiu was only 9 years old and how could he possibly have a son? And what is the university he mentioned? He doesn't understand any of it. Is it because he has a serious head injury? It's not easy to treat. I wish my master were here, but I don't know when he will be back. Thinking of this, Dr. Fong sighed. I have replaced several medicinal herbs for Su Jiu's brain problem, hoping that this will help him restore his memory. Alright, that's it for today. I'll change some medications for you and check you in a couple of days. After Dr. Fong finished speaking, he asked Su Jiu to rest first and go out to prepare the medicine for him to change. A few days later, Dr. Fong conducted another examination on Su Jiu. Diagnosis Record 2 of Su Jiu. What's your name? What's so uncomfortable about it? My name is Su Jiu, and now my body is much more relaxed, and my head is not that painful anymore. Su Jiu answered in this way, and Dr. Fong thought to himself that he had finally made the right decision. It seems that the different medicinal herbs he changed are really effective. Oh, which ones are they? I should have a record of them. Go back and flip through them. Do you remember what happened before you fell into a coma? Su Jiu thought for a moment and whispered, I remember that night when my parents had an argument with me again. I didn't dare to say anything, so I went back to the room and comforted my younger siblings to sleep. After they fell asleep, I also slept next to them. In my sleep, I felt a lot of noise outside. I thought that my parents had been arguing for a long time this time, and I must be careful not to make my mother angry anymore. Suddenly, there was a loud noise in my ear, and then I knew nothing. Dr. Fong heard Su Jiu say that his parents were arguing over him, and thought of some of his childhood experiences that had cast some shadows on him. Now he is still very afraid of going home, and even has some resistance to marriage. Every time his parents say why he hasn't started a family at home, he always finds various reasons to evade. Do your parents often argue? Yes, my mother often criticizes me for not doing well, and sometimes my father can't stand it. Can you help me say a few words? My mother was very unhappy when she saw my father help me speak, so she began to blame him, saying that it was because of me that they came to live in this remote place. Let's live our lives. The villagers are still talking nonsense, saying that I am not a mother. Why am I not a mother? Am I not doing enough for this family? We can't go back home now because of this little heartless person, and even the eldest and second cannot see each other. We still live in this terrible place with the fourth and fifth. How could I have such a miserable fate? You're such a loser, and I'm feeling so angry here. Every time my father hears my mother say this, he is very silent. Then he comforts me and says, don't listen to my mother's nonsense. They live here and it has nothing to do with me. Upon hearing what Su Jiu said, Dr. Fong curiously asked, what does your mother mean when she says she can't go back home? The person who brought you here said you have a village, isn't that your home? I don't know about this either. My parents haven't told me about it, and I heard them argue and say these things. Anyway, every time my mother says it's because of me that we live in a village and can't see my elder sister and second brother. Yet seeing Su Jiu talking about these things, his mood felt a bit low. Dr. Fong quickly changed the topic. Do you know how long you've been sleeping? It's been over half a month now. Ah, it's been so long, Dr. Fong. I don't know how my family is doing. Why haven't we seen them? I'm not quite sure about this either. I've already called the person who brought you over. When he comes, you can ask him for specific information. Now let's talk about what happened after you fell into a coma. Okay, after hearing a loud noise and falling into a coma, I felt like I had come to a place full of fog and couldn't see anything. I don't know where it is, I'm very scared. I shouted a few times, but no one responded. I don't know where to go. Later, I remembered what my father had said to me before: if there is no road ahead, you can keep moving forward. As you walk, there is a road ahead. Afterwards, I kept walking forward for an unknown amount of time, and finally saw a person in front of me. Seeing that person, I quickly shouted, "Hello, uncle, wait for me." The person heard my shout and looked back at me, seeming surprised, so they stopped and waited for me. I ran up to him and asked, "Uncle, who are you? Why are you also here? Do you know where this is?" That uncle told me his name is Miao Xiaomi, and he doesn't know why he's here. He also asked me if I knew the way to leave here, and I said I didn't know. He was quite disappointed and said there were still important things to do. When Dr. Fong heard Su Jiu mention Miao Xiaomi, he remembered that Su Jiu had just woken up and said his name was Miao Xiaomi. He didn't expect it to be mentioned again this time, which surprised him. "Miao Xiaomi, you've seen him. Can you describe him to me?" Su Jiu thought for a moment. He looks older than my father, probably in his 40s, with dark skin, rough hands, and a hunchback. He looks very simple. What happened afterwards? Uncle said he can't stop here, he needs to continue walking forward and see if there are anyone else ahead, or know where this is and how to get out. He also told me a lot, but I didn't listen much because after seeing him, I became increasingly hungry and felt like he looked delicious, always wanting to take a bite. But he was stronger than me, and I couldn't resist it. In the end, I bit him and said, "It smells so good, that feeling is amazing." Speaking of which, Su Jiu looked very intoxicated, as if savoring something. Suddenly, she came to her senses and saw that Dr. Fong had not paid attention to him. She continued, "After I finished biting him, he seemed very scared and immediately distanced himself from me. Later, he also took a bite from me, imitating me. After being bitten by him, I felt a lot of pain in my body." As if remembering something, Su Jiu began to tremble all over, her expression becoming increasingly painful. Su Jiu, it's okay, it's all over. Take a deep breath, it's all over." Dr. Fong quickly comforted him while using a secret technique, and soon Su Jiu's breathing became normal. Seeing Su Jiu's improvement, Dr. Fong asked, "Su Jiu, how do you feel? Do you want to continue?" "Dr. Fong, it's okay. Let's continue." "Then continue, if you feel uncomfortable, stop. If not, let's talk again next time." Su Jiu continued to recall, "Well, it's okay, Dr. Fong." After biting me, he was very surprised. His gaze at me became increasingly strange, and I knew he also felt that way. I didn't want to experience that pain anymore, so I bit him again, and he bit at me, shouting while biting. "Ask me if it's the child he saved and say I have no conscience. If it weren't for saving me at the time, he wouldn't have been hit or appeared here, and now he still wants to harm him." I don't know what he said, but after biting him a few times, the pain gradually eased and he was still very comfortable. I don't know how long the fight lasted, but another person appeared in front of me, who was blurry and couldn't see clearly. The person saw us and pointed at us, and we parted ways. The person ignored me and looked at Miao Xiaomi, saying, "Why did you come here? Do you know how long I've been looking for you? It's not exhausting for me. If it weren't for the sake of, I wouldn't have been meddling in this business. You said you came here just because you're here, and you're still entangled with others. I don't know that the more entangled you are, the more you can't leave here." After finishing speaking, I sighed and said again, "You don't know what's going on, it's all a mess." Before I could ask him how to leave here, he hurriedly left with Miao Xiaomi, and I quickly chased them. They were getting faster and faster, but later I couldn't even see them. I was unwilling and continued to move forward. Later, it seemed like I had fainted again, and then I woke up upon hearing what Su Jiu said. Dr. Fong had many doubts in his heart. What was the fog he was talking about? He had never heard of it before, and why was he there? Why did he say his name was Miao Xiaomi last time, and even this time he said he saw Miao Xiaomi in that fog? Who is the person who took away Miao Xiaomi? Is it possible that Su Jiu's coma this time was somewhat secretive? He needs to organize the 2 diagnostic records and show them to his master when he comes back. I noticed that Su Jiu had said so much and felt a bit tired, so I let him rest and go out to see if the person had arrived. Chapter 2. There is a village. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. After Dr. Fong left, Su Jiu looked at the room and found that there were only 2 wooden beds. One was for him to lie down on, and the other had neatly stacked blankets, indicating that no one was living there. Since he woke up, he felt like he had a lot of things in his head. Sometimes he felt like he wasn't Su Jiu, and sometimes he felt like he was, which made him very irritable. He also wants to see his parents but he doesn't know how they are after he fell into a coma. He is curious why they didn't come to see him. Is something else going on? After thinking to myself, I must behave well and not let my parents argue over me anymore. This is not good for the growth of my younger siblings. I hope they don't experience what I have experienced. Thinking about it, Su Jiu fell asleep again. After a while of sleep, she didn't know what she had dreamed of, but her whole body trembled and woke up. Opening his eyes, he found a person sitting by the bed, with sword eyebrows and starry eyes. He was dressed in a blue robe and looked very elegant. He was looking down to read a book when he heard the commotion on the bed and lifted his head. When he saw Su Jiu waking up, he smiled and said, "Little one, you finally woke up." Seeing that person, Su Jiu asked, "Uncle, are you the person Dr. Fong mentioned who brought me to the clinic?" "Yes, I took you to the clinic. Thank you for your life-saving kindness, uncle." "Who are you, uncle?" "I am the president of the Agricultural Society of Zhixing College." "You can call me the president of the Agricultural Society. I went to your village in May to help solve the problem of waterlogging in the fields. Have you heard of it? I also know the private school teacher in your village." Upon hearing the farmer's words, Su Jiu remembered that there was still a lot of accumulated water in the fields in May, which caused the fields to be unable to be cultivated. In order to solve this matter, the village chief brought in a person who helped to solve the problem. The village fields were cultivated in a timely manner, and the villagers were very grateful to that person. Otherwise, he probably wouldn't have had a harvest this year. At that time, he was at home and didn't see that person. However, the villagers said that the person was very gentle and polite when talking to them, unlike those in the town who looked aloof. He was always curious about what that person looked like and didn't expect to see him today. He did look very handsome, but not as handsome as his father. "Agricultural President, how could I be here? When I saw you, you were in a coma and I tried many methods but couldn't wake you up, so I took you back to the college clinic." "So, President of the Agricultural Society, have you seen my parents? How are they now?" Upon hearing Su Jiu's question, the head of the rural community became conflicted and unsure whether to tell him the truth. After thinking for a moment, I decided to tell him, after all, it's his family business and I can't make decisions for him. "I haven't seen your parents or them. You village chief told me that they only found you that day and didn't see your parents or them. Don't you remember what happened that day?" "I don't remember, I just remember that night it seemed very noisy, and then I fainted when I heard a loud noise." "Yes, village chief, you said they also heard it that night. If it weren't for this loud noise, they would probably have discovered the situation at your house the next day. At that time, you couldn't say what it was like." "Don't worry, I told village chief you when I left that he will notify me as soon as he has any news about your family. I will inform you as soon as I receive the news, and I will also send someone to investigate this matter. Then please trouble the president of the rural community. They must let me know as soon as they have any news." Well, you can rest assured to recuperate here. There are still a few days left until the start of the junior high school. You can go back and stay here for the next few days. I have already agreed with Dr. Fong. Where is Chukshuatang? It is the front yard of Zhixing College, where newly admitted children stay and where you will also go to study in the future. Why did I go there? Su Jiu was very puzzled as to why she had to go to the Chushua school to study. She remembered that there was no such thing before she fainted. I have secured a special enrollment spot for you. I originally intended for you to directly enter the agricultural society, but your age does not match, so you can only wait until after next year's big exam. I will have someone deliver you some books later. In the next few days, you can take a look and learn more about Zhixing College. Alright, if there's anything else I need to do, I'll go back first. Rest well here and call Dr. Fong if there's anything else. After speaking, the farmer left. This made Su Jiu feel a bit puzzled. He still had many questions to ask. Why did the person leave? In no time, a laborer wearing a grey robe brought several books. Su Jiu knew that his name was Mingrue and he was a laborer in the medical school. He had been taking care of himself for the past few days. Mingrue said that these books were sent by the president of the Agricultural Society, and asked Su Jiu to take a good look at them. After putting them away, he went out to do other things. Su Jiu sat up from the bed, picked up a book and started flipping through it. On the way back, the head of the rural community thought about the whole thing and sighed. It was originally a good thing, but I didn't expect it to turn out like this. Su Jiu's story will start in May. At the beginning of this year, 2 1-century natural disasters occurred in Hengduan Mountains. One was 15 days of heavy snow since February 14th, and the other was another 5 days of rainstorms since April 25th. These two natural disasters have caused serious consequences, such as landslides, floods, mudslides, etc., resulting in the disappearance of many villages in the mountain range, displacement of many people, and inability to cultivate fields. If these issues are not resolved in a timely manner, this year the mountains will face the dilemma of no harvest and no food for people to eat. In order to solve the problem, Zhixing College released many tasks in May, all of which were related to overcoming natural disasters. These tasks had a lot of points, and many people in the college took on a few. At that time, the head of the rural community happened to be fine and wanted to go out and see the disaster situation outside, so he took on a few tasks. After reviewing several tasks, I decided to first complete the remote task in the eastern section of the mountain range. The task was to help villagers solve the problem of waterlogging in their fields. According to the route, we arrived at that village, which is called Yug Village and has about 50 households. He found that this place seemed to be minimally affected by natural disasters, and he was curious why it wasn't very affected. Due to the impact of two natural disasters, he saw that many places had suffered some damage along the way from the college, and in some places, the entire village had disappeared. In some places, village houses have been damaged and almost no one can live there anymore. People have to leave their hometowns to search for new places to survive. I didn't expect that in a village, except for the problem of waterlogging in the fields, the houses in the village were not greatly affected, and it felt like a paradise. He found the village chief, surnamed Yu, who was in his 60s and had white hair all over his head. He looked very wise. The head of the rural community introduced himself, and the village chief Yu was very happy to see him come. I thought someone would come in 2 more days, but I didn't expect to come today. If it weren't for the accumulation of water in the fields and the inability to timely eliminate cultivation, I wouldn't have sought help from the college. After all, this place is too remote and it's embarrassing for people to run so far away. It's okay, I happen to want to know about the impact of natural disasters. It's a good time to take a look. Through investigation, the head of the rural community learned that due to natural disasters, there was too much water in the village's fields, which could not be drained and could not be cultivated. He looked like he would miss the opportunity to cultivate, so he sought help from the college. The farmer came to the field, checked the situation, and came up with a method. First, he used a secret technique to remove the accumulated water from the field. Then make a deep pit next to the field and put the extracted water into the pit, so that when the field is short of water in the future, the villagers can use the water in the pit to irrigate the field. The village chief was very happy to see the problem solved and urged the villagers to cultivate it quickly. Thank you to the village chief, thank you very much for your help. It's okay, it's a piece of cake. How about the farmer's president come to my house for a casual meal? No need, I want to stroll around the village and see if there are any hidden dangers that we can solve together. After we finish our work, we have to go to the next place. Mayor Yu knew he was busy and didn't say anything more, so he went to see the villagers farming. The farmer began to stroll around the village and found that the people here were simple and the villagers were very healthy, with smiles on their faces. Through chatting with the villagers, it was found that the changes in the village are all related to the village chief Yu. The villagers said that before the village chief Yu became the village chief, there were only about 10 households left in the village, unlike now where there are about 50 households. At that time, every family in the village was very poor, and the harvest in the fields was also not good. Almost every family had to eat before the next meal. Later, when Yu village chief became the village chief, he taught the villagers how to make money. He said that villagers can not only earn money by farming, but also find other ways. Let the villagers go to the mountains to collect herbs, and when they see the seedlings, they can dig them back. Perhaps some seedlings can survive, and after they survive, they can plant them on a large area, which can earn a lot of money. Let the villagers go hunting in the mountains and bring back their cubs or small animals to try raising them. If they are well raised, they can sell them to the town for money. Yu village chief also instructed the villagers to work in the town during their leisure time, so that each family can earn more money every year. Gradually, every family in the village became prosperous, and their houses became more and more sturdy, able to resist various natural disasters. The village chief Yu also established a private school, which stipulated: after each child in the village reaches the age of 8, they must go to a private school to study for 1 year, which is free of charge. They can also continue their studies after that, but they have to pay. At first, the villagers were very unhappy when they heard that their child was going to a private school. They said that if their child went to a private school, who would do the household chores? Later, they heard that they would send their child to the school for free. Nowadays, there are children in the village who work as accountants and shopkeepers in the town. It should be noted that the villagers used to work as laborers in the town, let alone those who wanted to do these things. Upon hearing these words, the head of the rural community greatly admired the village chief Yu. It should be noted that most villagers nowadays are illiterate, and they have no chance of literacy. It is even more impossible for the village to afford private schools. Because there are also requirements for running a private school, in order to do so, one must have a teacher. Without a teacher, a private school cannot be established. Famous teachers are controlled by various forces, and no teacher is willing to come to such a remote place. Thinking of these, he suddenly became interested in the teacher in the private school and wanted to know who the teacher was here. According to the villagers, he found a private school to the west of the village and heard the sound of loud reading coming from inside, indicating that classes were taking place. Arriving outside the private school, I saw over 30 children inside, ranging in age from 8 to 9, with only a few older ones. It seems that there are not many families in the village who like to pay for their children's education. The villagers here have wasted all the good opportunities. I don't know if there are people outside who want to spend a lot of money on education but don't have the opportunity. If there is an opportunity here, don't cherish it. The teacher noticed someone coming outside the private school, so he asked the students to read first and come out to see who came. Seeing the president of the rural community outside, it seems surprising that he appears here. Agricultural president, why did you come here? The president of the rural community was also surprised to see the teacher walking out of the private school. Unexpectedly, the teacher here was Mr. Su, who is a very famous teacher. I came to complete a task. Before coming, I thought who was here. It turned out to be Mr. Su, but I haven't heard from you for a long time. I didn't expect you to be a teacher here. Well, this place is pretty good, it's peaceful and not as deceitful as the outside world. Upon hearing Mr. Su's words, the head of the rural community remembered what had happened to him and sighed. Chapter 3. Teacher Mr. Su. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Mr. Su is very famous in the Hengduan Mountains. He has been a teacher for decades and also a mentor for many people, but in the end, his reputation was ruined. At that time, a famous female student said that Mr. Su wanted to tarnish her. At first, people heard about this and accused Mr. Su, saying that he had a human face and a beastly heart, and was not a teacher. Then he was not allowed to be the teacher of his own child, and Mr. Su was very angry that no one believed him. Later on, it was found out that someone wanted to suppress Mr. Su and improve his ranking as a teacher, so they designed this matter. In fact, Mr. Su did not value ranking. Although the female student also apologized to Mr. Su, someone still brought up the matter afterwards, and some even said that it should be true and that Mr. Su had someone suppress it. Gradually, few people sought Mr. Su as a teacher again, and he gradually faded out of people's sight. Later, they didn't know where he had gone. The farmer did not expect to meet Mr. Su in a village, but in fact, he quite admires Mr. Su. Mr. Su did not come from an academy or from any particular faction, he was self-taught and accomplished. He met Mr. Su several times at some events and gradually got to know each other because of their similar ideas. Later, when he heard that Mr. Su had an accident, he wanted to help him, but couldn't find him. Mr. Su took the village president to the backyard of a private school. I haven't finished my previous class yet. Please stay here for a while and let's talk later when I finish my previous class. I'm not in a hurry, Mr. Su will go ahead and get busy first. An hour later, Mr. Su returned, brewed a pot of tea, and then asked the farmer to sit down in the shade of the trees in the yard. Agricultural President, how did you come here? I have taken on a task to help solve the problem of waterlogging in the village's fields. Oh, it turned out to be this matter. I suggested that village chief you find Zhixing College, but I didn't expect you to come over. Oh, I see, it's just a coincidence. I've been troubled by a difficult problem lately, so I want to take a walk and take a look at the disaster situation around me. Ah, isn't it very serious outside? Well, it's very serious. I hope it won't happen again this year, otherwise people's lives will be even more difficult. Oh, who knows? During his speech, the president of the Agricultural Society asked a question in his heart, Mr. Su, how could you be a teacher here? It was the village chief you who invited me here. I have been here for more than 10 years. You didn't know he was a person with great wisdom. We met by chance and discovered some of his thoughts through chatting, which shocked me greatly and made me curious about what he said. Later, the village chief you said he wanted to run a private school and asked me to become a teacher. I came over to see if what he said could be realized. Before you come, you should also inquire about the situation in the village, otherwise you wouldn't come to the private school. Yes, I've heard some, I don't know if what I've heard is true or false, it feels unbelievable. What the villagers said is true. Since you became the village chief, the village has been changing day by day. Now, the villagers will not go hungry or cold, and even children can come to private schools to learn to read. In the past, villagers had no opportunity to read, and some villagers were even deceived when they went to the town to sell things because they were illiterate. This situation won't happen again now, and the village is becoming more and more famous in the surrounding towns. Some villages even want to imitate, but they have not succeeded. They do not know how to find a suitable way for themselves, and blindly imitating will not succeed. Upon hearing what Mr. Su said, the president of the Agricultural Society sighed, I didn't expect there to be someone like village chief you in this remote place. Why didn't he go to the college when he was young? I heard from the older generation in the village that he went there when he was young, but in the end, it seems like he lost the election for some reason. After losing the election, the village chief went to another place. I don't know what he went through. When he returned to the village, he found the old village chief and said he wanted to become the village chief. He said he wants every child in the village not only to be able to read and write, but also to avoid being deceived outside. Even when children grow up, they can go out and develop further away, no longer living in villages for generations. He wants to break the original concept of grandfather farming, getting married, and having children, father farming, getting married, and having children, son farming, getting married, and having children. Villagers should no longer suffer from hunger and cold in winter, with sturdy houses and surplus food and money in every household. Upon hearing what Mr. Su said, the head of the rural community increasingly admired Mr. Yu. Looking at the current development of the village, perhaps this place will become a town or a city in the future. It's really unbelievable. Mr. Su looked at the sky and said, "It's getting late, I'll go out and have someone prepare something to eat. Let's talk after we finish." After speaking, he went out. The farmer looked at the sky outside and found that it was already noon. He didn't expect them to chat for so long. Seeing Mr. Su go out, he picked up a book on the table, and just as he was about to read, a piece of paper fell out of it. He picked it up and found an article on it called, "Does Feces Help Improve Crop Growth?" I thought to myself, was this written by Mr. Su? The handwriting seems a bit different, maybe it was written by someone else. With doubts in mind, I started reading and found that the handwriting seemed to be written by a child. The content inside was also quite childish, but upon careful consideration, it was very meaningful. Reading the entire article actually gave him inspiration for the problem he had been troubled by for a long time. He was curious about who wrote this article and will wait for Mr. Su to come back later to ask. At this moment, voices came from outside. Looking up, it turned out to be Mr. Su and Village Chief Yu. Upon seeing the head of the rural community, Village Chief Yu said, "I didn't see you after finishing my work, so I thought you had left. It's a pity that I haven't thanked you well yet. I didn't expect to meet Mr. Su just now and say, 'You're here, you haven't had lunch yet, so you want to come over and invite me to my house for dinner.'" After listening to what Mayor Yu said, the head of the rural community explained, "I was supposed to leave, but I didn't expect to meet Mr. Su at the private school. As we chatted, we forgot the time. Don't trouble Village Chief Yu, I'll just have some simple food here and chat with Mr. Su later." Upon hearing the head of the rural community say this, the village chief Yotsuan didn't say anything more and then left, saying that someone would bring the food over later. After Mayor Yu left, Mr. Su said, "As soon as I went out, I met the village chief Yu. He saw me and asked me what I was going to do. I said you were here and wanted someone to prepare some food and bring it over. I didn't expect him to hear me say you were here and invite you over to dinner to thank you for helping solve the village problem. I couldn't resist him, so I brought him back. It's okay, I also want to have a good chat with Village Chief Yu, but there are still a few tasks that I can't delay. I can only come over and have a good chat with him after I finish my work." Shortly after the departure of Village Chief Yu, someone brought food, which was very abundant, including not only farmhouse dishes but also wild game. After finishing their meal, they sat on the table in the yard again. The farmer remembered the article, took it out, and asked, "Mr. Su, do you know who wrote this article? It looks quite interesting." Mr. Su picked up the article in the hands of the president of the Agricultural Society, carefully read it, and said, "Originally, this article was written by Su Jiu, the third son of the Su family in the north of the village." "Oh, how old is the third son of the Su family? How could he write such an article? Are he still studying in a private school now?" "He is 9 years old this year. He studied in a private school for a year last year, but he hasn't come this year." The head of the rural community was surprised to hear that Su Jiu was only 9 years old and said, "It's unbelievable that he wrote such an article after only 1 year of studying." "Yes, I was also surprised when I saw the article. I double-checked and confirmed that it was indeed written by him. He threw away the article he wrote before last year's holiday, which I discovered while tidying up my private school. I was also greatly shocked when I read it. You should know that I have also taught in the village for more than 10 years, and have not encountered a student like him. I can write such an article after only 1 year of learning. At that time, I thought he should be very talented and need to be well trained. I plan to ask him to continue coming to the private school this year. Afterwards, I went to his house and wanted to talk to his parents. Unexpectedly, her mother scolded me, saying that I was not teaching well in the private school and would come to his house to meddle in his affairs. Saying that Su Jiu wants to stay at home and work, if he comes to the private school and anyone works at home, is it me going to work for his house? After hearing this, the head of the rural community felt that Su Jiu's mother was somewhat unreasonable and asked in confusion, what is the situation with his family? His family moved in 9 years ago. His father is a carpenter with good craftsmanship, and he handles everything in the private school. He is a kind person. After his mother arrived at the village, she remained at home and rarely interacted with the villagers. It is said that there are a total of 5 children in his family. The eldest and second are working in the city, and I haven't seen them since. Su Jiu is the third in his family. When they came to the village, he was still in his infancy. Later, his family had a pair of dragon and phoenix twins called Su Mingxing and Su Mingxi, which were raised by Su Jiu. Sometimes the villagers can't stand his mother instructing Su Jiu to work, just saying that the third child is not her biological child. After hearing this, his mother was very angry and would run out to argue with that person, saying that they were meddlesome. Later on, the villagers rarely went to his house, and they mostly came to his father for help. I feel that the villagers are right. Su Jiu is not their biological child. You think his fourth and fifth are called Su Mingxing or Su Mingxi, while his third is indeed called Su Jiu. I heard that the eldest and second of his family are named Su Mingyue and Su Minglang, which makes people even more suspicious. Isn't it stipulated by the village chief that children in the village who are 8 years old must study in a private school for 1 year? Last year, Su Jiu was 8 years old and studied in a private school for a year. He has almost caught up with his children who have been studying in private schools for several years. He also took several leave requests this year, citing family matters. Later, I found out that his mother had asked him to work at home. That's it, he can still write articles like this. Do you think he's a genius? Upon hearing these, the head of the agricultural society felt that Su Jiu was a genius. Because this article has inspired him and given him a new direction in his research, he wants to enroll Su Jiu in the college. Mr. Su, can you take me to see Su Jiu? Mr. Su heard him say he wanted to see Su Jiu, but when he thought about what had happened at his house before, there were still some shadows. I don't want to see his mother, why don't I tell you which one to go to yourself? I advise you not to provoke his mother. Seeing Mr. Su's difficulties, the president of the agricultural society didn't say much and asked him to tell him the location of the Su Jiu family. According to the location, I arrived at Su Jiu's house and saw an 8 or 9-year-old child in the yard, which should be Su Jiu. In the yard, Su Jiuzhen was taking care of his younger brother and sister while pulling grass from the vegetable garden. He didn't see his parents, whether they were not at home or inside. The agricultural president did not enter the hospital, but used a secret technique to check Su Jiu outside the hospital and found that he had a rare cultivation potential, which is more advantageous for admitting him to the college. To enter the Zhixing Academy, one must first see whether the person has the potential for cultivation. If not, they must have a certain skill, otherwise it will be difficult to enter the academy. It's strange that Su Jiu has both of them. I thought of Mr. Su saying that Su Jiu's family came 9 years ago. Perhaps his family has a long history and I don't know why they came to this remote place. But none of these are important to him, because the people in the college have a simple background. Chapter 4. Zhixing College. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Mr. Su did not come to the hospital to see Su Jiu, fearing to disturb his life. He thought he would come to see him after finishing his work, but it was still too early to see him now. He returned to the private school. "Mr. Su, if you have time, please help take care of Su Jiu. I need to go back to the college to arrange it and come back after finishing." "Okay, you go ahead. There's usually nothing here." Mr. Su also knew that the rural community president had a love for talent, so he said to rest assured and take good care of Su Jiu. After the farmer came out of a village, he quickly completed several tasks in his hand and returned to the Zhixing college. He wants to submit an application to the college to get Su Jiu a special enrollment spot. Because Su Jiu has missed this year's college assessment and is unable to participate in the next one due to his age, there is a need for a special enrollment quota in order for him to come to the college to study. In fact, this application is very complicated, with a series of cumbersome processes and very few people applying. In order to achieve their own research results, the president of the Agricultural Society put up with it. After more than 2 months, the special recruitment student's application was finally approved by the president of the Agricultural Society. He got the quota and set off for a village. As for why not ask others to go, it feels like that person's absence lacks persuasiveness and cannot pass the test of Su Jiu's mother. However, he should have some persuasiveness when he goes in his own capacity. The farmer once again came to a village and saw the solemn atmosphere, as if something had happened, which made him feel a little uneasy. He went to the private school and found Mr. Su. Mr. Su felt guilty when he saw him coming and said, "Agricultural President, I have fulfilled your instructions. Su Jiu has had some accidents and is still unconscious to this day." The farmer was very surprised when he heard this. He didn't expect Su Jiu to have an accident and asked in surprise, "How did Su Jiu become unconscious? What happened?" Mr. Su sighed and said, "Hey, no one knows exactly what happened in his family. The night before yesterday, there was a loud explosion coming from the north of the village, which woke up all the villagers. The villagers all came out to check the sound source, and later found out that it was coming from the direction of Su Jiu's house, because his house is close to the north of the village and belongs to the neighboring area. Yu village chief brought people to his house and saw that his house had disappeared, leaving only a deep pit. Su Jiu was lying by the pit in a coma, and his parents and younger siblings were gone. The village chief quickly called for someone to bring Su Jiu over and overnight sent someone to the town to look for a medical officer. The medical officer came to inspect Su Jiu's body and said that he was not seriously ill. It should be a head injury that caused him to be unconscious. As for when he will wake up, he is not sure. How could this be? What exactly happened to the Su family? We don't know about this either. As for what happened, we probably won't know until Su Jiu wakes up. The head of the rural community felt a headache when he thought about the special recruitment quota in his hand, because it was exclusive to Su Jiu and useless for others. As for why we say this, we have to start with the fact that the executive college was just established when someone sold the college's special enrollment quota, which had a negative impact on the college. Later, in order to prevent this matter, the college carried out a series of cumbersome application processes, and the quota for special admissions must be exclusive, which is also the reason why it takes so long for him to apply. He couldn't let his efforts go to waste, so he discussed with Mr. Su and the village chief Yu and brought Su Jiu back to the college clinic. He originally wanted to find the backyard hospital of the college, but he didn't expect it to be a holiday now. The people in the backyard hospital have all taken on tasks and left, so he found the front hospital. Fortunately, Dr. Fong is here. He is a disciple of a famous teacher and also very famous in the backyard. It's quite reassuring to hand over Su Jiu to him. A few days ago, Dr. Fong said that Su Jiu woke up, but there seems to be a memory problem. He took a special look and found that Su Jiu's state was very unstable, sometimes awake, sometimes unconscious, so he didn't disturb him. Dr. Fong suspected that Su Jiu had suffered a serious head injury and needed to try changing several medications. He never thought it would actually work. Today, he had someone inform him that Su Jiu had completely regained consciousness and was truly a disciple of a renowned teacher. He also breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. He didn't miss out on this special admission spot, otherwise he would have become another laughing stock of the college. Now Su Jiu has woken up, the time is just right. It will take a few days for the Chushua school holiday to end. We will send Su Jiu over, but we need to carefully consider which class to send him to. By flipping through the books sent by the president of the Agricultural Society, Su Jiu gained some understanding of the Executive College. By reading the Introduction to Zhixing College, I learned that the college belongs to a one-star college. It is located in the center of the Hengduan Mountains and has a history of 100 years. Its philosophy is unity of knowledge and action, and the college attaches great importance to the theory and practice of students. The college recruits students every 5 years, and the admission requirements are: firstly, children must be between 7 and 8 years old. Secondly, children of appropriate age are required to take an exam once, and the content of each exam is different. Thirdly, children who pass the exam will undergo another examination, and the college will divide them into different classes based on the examination results. By reading the Introduction to the Zhixing College area, I learned that the college is divided into a front yard and a backyard. The front yard is called the junior school and is a place for newly admitted children to study. There are also places in the front yard, such as school buildings, teaching buildings, dining rooms, grocery stores, medical centers, and libraries, for children to live and study. The backyard of the college is divided into two major areas: Spreading Wings Courtyard, and Leaving the Nest. It is a place where students from the front yard can only enter after 5 years of study and a major exam. There is not much record in the book about what exactly these two regions look like. It should be information that can only be known after the big exam. By reading the Complete Collection of Clothing at Zhixing College, I learned that there are also differences in the clothing of the college. People in places such as the school's cafeteria, grocery store, medical clinic, and library all wear black robes. The doctors in the clinic wear white robes. The miscellaneous workers in the college wear gray robes. The patrol team in the college is dressed in red robes. The students in the front yard are dressed in orange robes. The students in the backyard spread their wings and wore yellow robes. The students leaving the nest in the backyard wear green robes. The teachers in the front courtyard and the presidents of various academic societies in the back courtyard wear blue robes. The front and back hall masters, deputy hall masters, elders, vice deans, and others wear blue robes. The dean of the college wears the only purple robe. By reading these books, he gained a general understanding of Zhixing College and how difficult it is to enter. So why does the president of the rural community want to get himself a special recruitment spot, and what is the purpose? And why he was unconscious, what happened during this period of coma, where his parents went? He had too many questions in his heart and didn't know who would answer them. In the next few days, Su Jiu's body slowly recovered and she finished reading all the books sent by the farmer. He heard the noise outside the clinic getting louder and louder, and coincidentally, Mingrue came to clean the room. He asked, "Minga, why is it so noisy outside? You said this, isn't it, that the vacation is coming to an end? The students are back." "Oh, when does Chushua school start?" "September 1st, it hasn't been many days either." "Yeah, I don't know how the president of the Agricultural Society arranged for me." "Don't worry, the president of the Agricultural Society is the president of the Backyard Agricultural Society. It's not easy to arrange for you. Brother Su, you stay on your own for now. I have other things to do." After Mingrue finished speaking, he went out. Su Jiu is unaware of the arrangements made by the president of the rural community. He has not come over since the last meeting. On August 31st, the farmer finally arrived at Su Jiu's room and told him that he had already agreed with Dr. Fong to leave the clinic. Let Su Jiu tidy up her things, but there isn't really much left, just a few daily necessities that she entrusted someone to buy in the past few days. After organizing her things, Su Jiu followed the farmer out of the clinic and found that there were many children of his age strolling outside. Arriving at a quadrangle, the farmer asked Su Jiu to go to the room on the east side, saying that it was his future residence. He also gave him some money, saying that if it was not enough, he could ask for it again. After the explanation was completed, the president of the rural community left again and did not give Su Jiu any chance to ask questions, which made him very distressed. When I arrived at the room to the east, it was unlocked. When I opened the door, I found that it was very clean inside and there were already bedding on the bed, which should have been distributed uniformly by the college. There are 2 sets of yellow robes on the table, as well as a guide to Zhixing, which provides detailed information about the front yard. He took a rough look and jotted down a few locations, intending to go out and take a look. Arriving at the yard, I saw that the other 2 rooms were locked and should have been occupied. I haven't arrived yet. Stepping out of the courtyard, I found that the surroundings were all the same courtyard houses, with rows of houses in the distance. I don't know who lived there. Stepping out of this area, it becomes very lively, with students strolling in groups of 3 or 5. The grocery store and restaurant have already opened, and job postings are written outside. He is very interested in this because he doesn't have money. He wants to make money, although the farmer said he doesn't have money to find him, it's not his. He must think of making money in order to survive and wait for news from his parents. He took a look and felt that the recruitment information on Fonzie's end was good. He said he was in charge of food, which was very attractive to him. When I arrived at the restaurant, I found that the people inside were cleaning up. When I noticed him coming, I was curious about what he was doing because it was impossible for any students to come here for dinner at this time. A friendly-looking aunt asked, "Little one, the restaurant is not open yet. If you want to eat something, go out and find it." "Auntie, I'm not here for dinner. I saw job vacancies written outside. Have you recruited enough here?" "I haven't recruited enough yet, but all I'm looking for are college students." "Who are you? Why haven't I seen you before?" Su Jiu was very happy to hear that she hadn't recruited enough yet. "Auntie, I am also a college student. Can I come here to work?" "You are a college student, can't you? I have an impression of all the students in this class of junior high school, you are a fresh face. I'm new here and said I'll report tomorrow. New arrivals, let alone the possibility. This round of enrollment has already ended, and the next round of enrollment has not started yet." Upon hearing this and say this, Su Jiu quickly explained, "Auntie, I'm really new here. The person who brought me here said I'm a special recruit, so I can report directly." Auntie heard Su Jiu say she was a special recruit, and looked at him up and down carefully, smiling, "You're a special recruit, so it's really rare to use it to work here." "Auntie, although some people say they don't have money to ask him for, it's not mine. I want to make money on my own. Yo, I didn't expect you to be so young that you can think of so many things. It would be great if my stinky kid had half of your consciousness. If you want to come, come on." "Thank you, Auntie. I wonder when I can come over to work." "I don't need it today. If you don't have classes, you can come and have dinner. I will calculate the money based on your working hours. Really, you can call me Aunt Huang and come to me directly when you come. I will be there." "Okay, Aunt Huang, I got it." Su Jiu finished speaking and left. Auntie Huang shook her head as she watched Su Jiu leave, thinking that there seemed to be no special recruitment students working yet. She didn't expect him to meet him today, so he could go out and show off to others. She felt that Su Jiu shouldn't have persisted for a long time, and after only 2 hot days, she didn't expect Su Jiu to stay up for so long. Chapter 5. Newcomers come to the courtyard. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Su Jiu walked out of the restaurant and felt very happy. The weather is really nice today. Studying and working at the college at the same time was something he had planned in the medical clinic before. After all, his parents haven't heard from him yet, so he can't keep using the money of the farmer, so he wants to earn some money on his own. He thought finding a job would be very difficult and take some time to find, but he didn't expect to come across one today. The key is to still manage food, which can save him a lot of money. Go back and think about what will happen afterwards. He needs to earn more money and use it to do things. He wants to know how far the college is to, there is a village, he wants to know about his parents and their news, he wants to know why they don't come to find him. I went to the grocery store next to my friend, bought a few things, and then walked back to the outside of the yard. I heard voices inside. First, I heard a simple and honest voice. I saw that the room on the east side was locked, and there should be someone living there. I don't know who came to our yard, but the yard was finally full. Later, I saw who was saying that there were fewer people in our yard. Then a gentle voice sounded, just ignore them, you can get whatever they want. As for who it is, you'll see them soon. Okay, let's not talk about this for now. Let's talk about what you did during this vacation. Before another person could answer, the voice began to gush incessantly, you don't know that I went to many places again this vacation. There were many delicious places there, but they didn't hold me up. I even brought some over and I'll give you a try later. I don't want it, you can keep it for yourself to eat. The two of them were still talking, and when they heard the sound of opening the door at the entrance of the courtyard, they both looked up. Su Jiu walked into the courtyard and saw two young people sitting on a stone bench under the osmanthus tree. One has a chubby body and a round face, while the other is very handsome. He doesn't know how to describe him as handsome. The chubby boy saw Su Jiu and asked, who are you? What's up with coming to our yard? I live here. I just went out to buy something and came back, but I didn't expect you to come too. Living in this courtyard, oh, are you the one who lives in the east room? How do you feel like I haven't seen you before? I live in the east room, and I have just arrived. Just arrived, it's impossible. It's already past the college assessment time. How did you come in? And how did you live in this courtyard? It's not something that anyone can come in here. Can't I just live casually? I'm not quite sure. The president of the rural community said that I will live here from now on, and I'm not very sure about the specific situation. How about I ask him again later? The farmer's president, is it the farmer's president in the backyard? Yes, it's him. Wow, you actually know him. What's your background? You misunderstood. It was the president of the rural community who saved me and said I could study here in the future. Studying here is impossible. According to the college's regulations, as long as the assessment time is passed, there will be no chance. Speaking of which, the handsome boy next to him interjected, did you forget about the special recruitment student? Upon hearing his words, the chubby boy suddenly realized, by the way, there is also the channel for special recruitment students, but I heard that the application process for special recruitment students is very complicated when it is not during the assessment period. Ordinary people won't handle it. Are you a special recruitment student? Yes, I am a special recruitment student. Upon hearing Su Jiu admit that he was a special recruit, the other two teenagers in the courtyard were surprised and looked at him carefully. The chubby boy said with uncertainty, you are really a special recruit. Really, we haven't met yet. My name is Su Jiu and I live in the room on the east side. Please take good care of me in the future. Upon hearing Su Jiu's words, the two teenagers also introduced themselves. The chubby boy said, my name is Li Mingxian and I live in the room on the west side. I am a special recruit from class 4. If you need anything from now on, please let me know. I can get you anything. The very handsome young man briefly introduced himself, my name is Lu Buoyang, and I live in the middle room. I am also a special recruit from class 4. Li Mingxian and Lu Buoyang, I remember. Nice to meet you. Huh. Our yard is finally full. What else do they say after watching those games? Upon hearing Li Mingxian talk about the competition, Su Jiu curiously asked, "Competition, what competition? You just arrived, you probably didn't know. You also saw that there are many courtyards here, and each courtyard is inhabited by special recruits. Every year, the college will assign some tasks to specially recruited students, which must be completed by each courtyard member together, and then evaluated based on the completion of the tasks. Before you came, there were only the two of us in our yard. At this point, we had to work for 3 people, almost keeping us busy. Fortunately, we didn't finish last. You're here, it's different. Let's work hard and strive to win first place." "You're right, Xiao Lu." Upon hearing Li Mingxian call him Xiao Lu, Lu Buoyang looked straight at him and said, "I see if your skin is itching, as long as you don't procrastinate, you can tell which time it's not your fault." Seeing Lu Buoyang's gaze, Li Mingxian quickly explained, "I'm not dragging my feet, wasn't I careless? Be careful next time. Next time, it's really addictive." Watching Li Mingxian and Lu Buoyang arguing, Su Jiu was very warm. He was afraid that he wouldn't get along with others before. "I didn't expect the other 2 people in the yard to look quite easy-going. Perhaps this was specially arranged by the president of the rural community, and I don't know if he has any news from his parents. Really, how should we find him? He didn't seem to tell himself how to find him. Was he just going to find him directly, but he didn't know where he lived? He will inquire about this later." Watching Su Jiu slip away, Li Mingxian was afraid of him for a moment, and then they started talking. Su Jiu didn't expect Li Mingxian to be a talkative person. He couldn't even put in his mouth while talking, and it seemed like he had become accustomed to the cool and cold look on Lu Bo. When talking about the class, Li Mingxian asked, "Really, Su Jiu, are you also from class 4? Upon hearing Li Mingxian's question, Su Jiu remembered that they had previously introduced themselves as class 4 and there should be other classes. "Which class are you from? No one seems to tell me about this, it's really overwhelming." "I'm not quite sure, are there several classes?" "No, we have a large number of students in this class, divided into 6 classes. The 2 of us are from class 4. If you live in this courtyard, are you also from class 4? I forgot to ask this, and I don't know who to ask." "It's okay, it's not possible. Tomorrow, you can come with us to class 4 and ask the teacher. Then I'll go over with you tomorrow and take a look. Let's not talk about that for now. I'll go get you what I brought this time and let you taste it, haha." Li Mingxian finished speaking and ran back to his room, then took out a variety of things to eat for them. Su Jiu has never seen these things before, but it seems that Lu Buoyang is no exception. Li Mingxian placed these things on the table and began to introduce them, saying where they came from and where they came from. Anyway, Su Jiu was completely confused because he had never heard of the places Li Mingxian mentioned, but the food was quite delicious. Time passed as they chatted. After eating the food brought by Li Mingxian, they were not very hungry at night and didn't go out to eat. Seeing that it was getting late, they all went back to their rooms to rest. After washing up, Su Jiu lay in bed thinking about her recent experiences, feeling quite magical. The next morning, Su Jiu finished washing up and was about to go out to find something to eat when she heard someone knocking on their courtyard door outside. He was just about to go out when he heard Li Mingxian's loud voice, "Who knows to knock early in the morning?" Li Mingxian opened the courtyard door and immediately changed his mind when he saw someone standing outside. "Ah! I said, how did I hear magpies calling in our yard this morning? It turns out that teacher he is coming to our yard, hurry, hurry. Please come inside." Jiaoshi felt a headache as he watched Li Mingxian open the door. He was a prick in class 4 and was often called to the office by his class teacher to have heart-to-heart talks. With more times, he also got to know him. "So you live in this courtyard, I didn't come looking for you. Does Su Jiu live here?" "Su Jiu, did you just come to that place yesterday?" "He lives here, and I don't know why Professor Shi came to find him." He just needs to stay here, I'll take him to report. Originally, he was going to class 6. I thought he was from class 4, but I didn't expect it to be from your class. He Jiaoshi, wait a moment, I'll call him for you. After Li Mingxian finished speaking, he turned around and scratched his chicken coop head, shouting to the east room, Su Jiu, come out quickly. He Jiaoshi is looking for you and said he wants to take you to report. Su Jiu heard Li Mingxian shouting and replied, I understand, come right away. Su Jiu tidied up her orange robe again and walked out of the room to see a middle-aged man standing outside the courtyard. He was dressed in a green robe, with sword eyebrows and starry eyes, looking very kind. Turn around and lock the door, then come to the entrance of the courtyard. He Jiaoshi saw Su Jiu walking and asked, Are you Su Jiu? I am. You come with me, I'll lead you to report. Then he Jiaoshi led Su Jiu away from here. Li Mingxian watched them leave and said regretfully to Lu Buoyang, who had just left the room, I didn't expect Su Jiu to go to class 6, but there have been no special recruits in their class. Now that Su Jiu has gone, I don't know what will happen. Upon hearing him say this, Lu Buoyang shook his head, just take care of yourself. Where are you going to get involved in the excitement? Be careful not to get caught in the fire. Che, who dares to provoke me? If anyone dares, I'll let him experience the power of money. Lu Buoyang was speechless after hearing him say this for a while. He didn't expect to be in the same courtyard as Li Mingxian. He hoped that Su Jiu would be normal, otherwise he was afraid he would do something. On the other hand, after Su Jiu left with He Jiaoshi, they chatted while walking. He Jiaoshi, am I going to your class? Yes, I only received the notification last night, asking me to come and take you to report this morning. I teach class 6. Our class is a bit special, unlike other classes where each class has a few special students. We didn't have them before, but you were the only one. Upon hearing what He Jiaoshi said, Su Jiu curiously asked, why is this? Why didn't it happen before, but now you have arranged for me to come in? This matter was arranged by the college, and I am not sure about the specifics. As for why you came to my class, I am also quite curious. After receiving the notification last night, I specifically checked and someone told me it was arranged by the backyard. Upon hearing He Jiaoshi talk about the backyard, Su Jiu thought to the president of the rural community, who should have arranged it, but how should she see him? He Jiaoshi, I don't know how to get to the backyard. Are you going to the backyard? You can't go there temporarily. If you want to find someone, why don't you ask someone to notify him and let him come over? Upon hearing what He Jiaoshi said, Su Jiu felt that the backyard was quite mysterious, and there were only a few introductions in the books she had read before. He remembers the president of the rural community saying that he took him to the backyard clinic when he was unconscious, and he didn't know if it was the same as the front clinic. Chapter 6. A special recruit from Class 6. You are listening at novelfull.audio. He Jiaoshi brought Su Jiu to the office area and then started talking. Let's fill in your personal information first, so that I can submit it to the master later. The Chukshuatang has a master and 2 vice masters, followed by a teacher and a teacher. Okay, Professor He. What's your name? My name is Su Jiu. Su Jiu felt that this scene was somewhat familiar. He had experienced it before in a medical clinic, and no college came up with this kind of thing. He couldn't think much about it, but He Jiaoshi asked again. Where do you come from? I come from, there is a village. Upon hearing Su Jiu's reply, He Jiaoshi thought to himself, where is there a village? I haven't heard of it before. Is it some hidden force? I'll go back and ask later. Are you literate? I have studied in a private school before. Private school, there are actually private schools in your village. Yes, what's wrong? What's wrong with teaching? Oh, it's okay, let's continue. Tell me how you came here. I am not quite sure about this specific matter. After I fell into a coma, I was taken to the college for treatment by the president of the Agricultural Society. After waking up, I stayed in the clinic all day. Yesterday, the president of the rural community took me out of the clinic and took me to the courtyard. After finishing speaking, I stayed here and then left. Agricultural president, it turned out to be him, still so reckless. You said you were unconscious a while ago, how do you feel now? I'm fine now, I haven't felt any problems lately. That's okay. If you have any discomfort afterwards, just let me know or go directly to the clinic. Don't hold back. Through chatting, Jiaoxi gained a general understanding of Su Jiu and learned that he had fainted before and was brought by the president of the Agricultural Society. However, it is still unclear why Su Jiu became a special recruit. He heard yesterday that this position was applied for by the president of the Agricultural Society. As for why he was assigned to his class, it's even more puzzling, as other classes have special recruits from the beginning. And their class doesn't have any, but now that Su Jiu has arrived and there are also special recruits in their class, it's unclear whether those in the class can accept it or whether Su Jiu is adapting to their class. Seeing that it was almost time, Jiaoxi stopped talking and then left the office area with Su Jiu. Before leaving, Su Jiu waited for a while, and when he returned, he gave him a small sign saying that this was his identification. Remember to bring it with you for future activities in the college, otherwise if the patrol team discovers that there is no sign, you will be expelled from the college. Su Jiu looked at the sign, which was made of wood with only her name written on it, and then there was nothing else. She hung it on her waist and followed Jiaoxi outward. They arrived at the teaching area, which was very noisy, with students chasing and playing around. Seeing Jiaoxi walking by with Su Jiu, some people were curious about what Su Jiu was doing. Do you know who the person who followed Jiaoxi is? Why haven't you seen him before? I don't know, I haven't seen it before. Jiaoxi brought Su Jiu to a room and stopped. Su Jiu heard the commotion inside, with various voices coming in. Hey, what did you do during your vacation? I didn't do anything and just stayed at home. May I ask you something? Did a gentleman leave a task for us before our vacation? Do you have it? I don't remember, are you sure? I remember something like this, class monitor. Did a teacher leave a task for us before our vacation? Yes. Upon hearing the class monitor's answer, it was quiet inside for a moment, and then it became even more chaotic, with various sounds coming out. Oh, I'll go. I forgot to go behind the second gate. What should I do? I didn't write it either, why don't I say I wrote it, but my younger brother tore it up. If he tore it up, he wouldn't do it, so he said he burned it. Yes, that's it. I'm really a genius, Guess what I saw yesterday? What did you see? I felt bored when I came yesterday and just wanted to go out for a walk. Guess what? I saw Jiaoxi and Mei Jiaoxi from class 3 fighting in a corner. How did they fight? They just hugged each other and bit each other. Su Jiu noticed that Jiaoxi's face was getting worse and worse, and her hands were clenched tightly. She took a deep breath and walked in directly. The students inside heard the sound of opening the door and noticed that Jiaoxi had walked in. They immediately stopped talking, and the room became quiet like pressing the pause button. Speak up, keep talking. I heard you arguing from a long distance. If you have anything to say, come to me later. After Jiaoxi finished speaking, he glanced back and saw a student with his head down, almost diving into the ground. Seeing him like that, Jiaoxi couldn't help but feel angry. He was the only one talking randomly just now, and he didn't expect to be seen yesterday. In fact, every class has a prick, and the student who speaks last is the prick of their class. He is mischievous and mischievous every day, but it seems that there is no Li Mingxian from class for who can do it. When it comes to Li Mingxian, he thinks of Su Jiu. He seems to be in the same school as Li Mingxian, so don't imitate him. Thinking of this, Jiaoxi patted his head, took care of his lesson, forgot about the main matter, and then looked down and said, "Now let's all go back to our own positions. Let me tell you something, everyone hurry up." Upon hearing what He Jiaoshi said, the students below quickly took action. After sitting down, a good student asked, "What's teaching? Is it because the assessment results before the holiday have come down?" "Oh, I don't want to know." Upon hearing him say this, the class howled again. "Look at your achievements, I know I didn't do well in the exam. Why didn't I work hard at that time, but now I know I'm afraid." Everyone is quiet, it's not this matter. I'll find a time to talk to you after this. Upon hearing what He Jiaoshi said, some students breathed a sigh of relief below, while others began to move around again. Seeing that person, He Jiaoshi shouted, "Ma Qingqian, please sit still and be honest. Everyone is quiet, do you want to know anything, think," then it immediately quieted down again. "Well, there's a new person in our class." Upon hearing He Jiaoshi mention a new person in the class, discussions began again below. "The new person, is it from another class? It's impossible, I've never heard of this before. What's going on? Why are there still people who can enter the college to study? Is it the dean's illegitimate child? It's possible." He Jiaoshi heard what was being said below becoming increasingly outrageous, and quickly stopped it. He was really afraid that they would say something shocking to the world again. "Alright, stop guessing and listen to me. Didn't you all complain before that there were no special recruits in our class? Now there's just one." Upon hearing He Jiaoshi talk about special recruitment students, the students below realized that for some unknown reason, the other 5 classes in this class all have special recruitment students, while their class does not. This resulted in some activities in their class not being able to participate, and students from other classes used this to squeeze them out. Ah! Is teaching really a special recruit? That means our class will also have special recruits in the future. Strange. Teacher Shi, tell us quickly where you got a special recruit. Don't talk nonsense, be careful, I'll talk to you. Upon hearing the heart-to-heart conversation, the student immediately shrank his head. "Alright, Su Jiu, come in first." Su Jiu has been standing outside for a while now, listening to the conversation between He Jiaoshi and the students. She feels that the overall atmosphere is good, and hopes to get along well with them in the future. Upon hearing He Jiaoshi call himself, he walked into the class and found that the eyes of the students below were all flashing towards him. "I thought special recruits had 3 heads and 6 arms, they turned out to be the same as us. Sisters, you can see that he is still a little handsome. He has a hard time competing with class 4. Our class finally has something to win. How can I speak? I'm not happy to say that. Aren't I handsome? Cut, look at your crooked melons and cracked dates. You." The person was speechless when he was scolded, and turned his head to look at Su Jiu, who had become unkind. It was all because of Su Jiu that he was told. In the future, give him some color to see. He Jiaoshi saw Su Jiu come in. "Everyone is quiet, and we know it's noisy every day. Here, Su Jiu will briefly introduce herself to everyone." Su Jiu walked over to He Jiaoshi and looked down, saying, "Hello everyone, my name is Su Jiu, please take care of me from now on." He Jiaoshi was just about to step aside and ask Su Jiu to speak more. Unexpectedly, before turning around, Su Jiu remained silent. He asked in confusion, "It's gone?" "Well, it's gone." Upon hearing Su Jiu say it was gone, He Jiaoshi's heart twitched. How could it be gone? I gave a brief introduction, but it wasn't as simple as that. Forget it, let's do it for now. Alright, Su Jiu has just arrived. Everyone should take good care of him and not let me find anyone bullying him. After He Jiaoshi finished speaking, he looked at the class location and found that it was empty next to Ma Qingqian, who was the leader of their class. He doesn't want Su Jiu to sit there, but it's not reasonable to arrange for someone else to go. How about arranging Su Jiu to sit there first and then finding reasons to adjust with others? Su Jiu, you sit next to Ma Qingchen in the back. Ma Qingchen, you need to take good care of Su Jiu. If I find out you're making some small moves, I'll have a heart-to-heart conversation with you." Upon hearing what He Jiaoshi said, Ma Qingchen immediately replied, "He Jiaoshi, I'm the most obedient. I can't do any tricks. Oh my, it's really nice of me to sit with the special recruitment student. Su Jiu, come and sit down quickly." Seeing Ma Qingchen very enthusiastic, Su Jiu didn't say anything and walked over to sit down. "My name is Ma Qingchen. In the future, you can hang out with me and I promise to make you eat and drink spicy food." Upon hearing Ma Qingchen say this, Su Jiu felt that he looked a bit like a little thug. She didn't know if she would hit her if she provoked him. Another student turned around and said, "My name is Bai Shitu, and I am the all-around expert in the class. There is nothing I don't know. If you have any questions in the future, you can ask me." "Okay, thank you." "Ha ha ha, we are all in the same class, don't be so polite, really, where are you from?" "I come from, there is a village. There's a village, why haven't I heard of it? Have you heard of Ma Qingchen?" "I don't have either." Su Jiu's heart tightened when she heard them say this. He had specifically searched for the location of a village while reading before, but did not find it. Today, when he heard what Bai Shitu and others were saying, he felt like he was far away from there. It seems that to find the location of, there is a village, we need to ask the village chief, but how do we find him? Ask these two people next to us and see if they know. Do you know how to get to the backyard? We can't enter the backyard, we can only wait a few years until we finish our big exam before we can enter. Upon hearing Bai Shitu say this, Su Jiu was puzzled and said, "Is there no other way?" Upon hearing his question, Ma Qingchen said beside him, "Do you know anyone in the backyard?" "Who is it?" Upon hearing him say this, Su Jiu realized that it seemed like the backyard was very mysterious, and she didn't know if she wanted to tell them that she knew the president of the agricultural society. "I know someone who is my life-saving benefactor. I want to thank him, but I don't know how to find him, so I asked." Upon hearing Su Jiu's words, Ma Qingchen didn't say anything, so they stopped chatting because He Jiaoshi had started talking earlier. He first encouraged everyone, then talked about his plans for this year, and then left. After he left, White Stone got up and ran out, as if there was something urgent. Other students wanted to chat with Su Jiu, but when they saw Ma Qingchen next to them, they didn't come over. Chapter 7. Discovery of the Library. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. After He Jiaoshi left, the class began to quarrel again. Su Jiu asked Ma Qingchen, "Ma Qingchen, may I ask you something else? Do we have anything else to do today?" "No more, as teacher he mentioned earlier, today is the first day after the holiday ends, and there are usually no teachers attending classes. The class will officially start tomorrow. So, can I go out?" "Sure, you didn't see how many people are left here." After Ma Qingchen's words, Su Jiu realized that there were not many people left in the class. Su Jiu saw that there was nothing to do, so she planned to go to Fancy to see and confirm the arrangements with Aunt Huang. "Then I'll leave first, let's meet tomorrow." "Well, see you tomorrow." After Su Jiu finished speaking, he left, but Ma Qingchen didn't. It seemed like there was something else to do, and he didn't mind either. After leaving class 6, he walked towards Fancy. Normally, there isn't much big news today, but this year it's different. Class 6 has a special move that has become a hot topic, and each class is discussing it. A student in class said, "Did you see the person behind He Jiaoshi this morning? It is said that he is a special recruit and doesn't know his background." A student in class 2 said, "Why did the special recruit student from class 6 only come now? Why didn't he participate in the college assessment last year?" A student in class 3 said, "I heard it's very troublesome to apply for a special recruitment spot outside of the assessment time. I wonder who made it for him." A student in class 4 said, "I don't know which college that special admission student from class 6 lives in either. I remember it seems like those colleges are all full. Not full, have you forgotten about them? The person finished speaking and pointed to the two figures in front of their class. As soon as he reminded them, the courtyard of Li Mingxian and Lu Boyang in their class seemed to be not full. Is that special recruit from class 6 living with them? The others tremble at the thought of this. I don't know how noisy and cold it should be, because Li Mingxian has endless words to say in a day, while Lu Boyang feels like an ice cube every day. A student in class 5 said, I just went to class 6 and took a look. Guess what I saw? That special recruit from class 6 is actually sitting at the same table as Ma Qingchen. I don't know why he Jiaoshi arranged this. How else can we arrange it? I remember their class was already crowded, and it seemed like the seat next to Ma Qingchen was empty. He Jiaoshi didn't arrange people there, so he arranged where to go. Su Jiu didn't know what other students in the class were talking about, so he went to Fancy and found Aunt Huang. Aunt Huang saw him coming. I didn't expect you to be a special recruit. Yesterday, I thought you were lying to me. To be honest, no special recruit has come here to work yet. Are you sure you want to come here to work? I'm sure I have to earn some money because I don't know where to use it in the future. Upon hearing him say this, Aunt Huang asked in confusion, didn't your family give you extra money? Due to some reasons, I am unable to contact my parents, and now I can only rely on myself. Poor doll, when you have nothing to do, just tell your aunt and she will definitely help you. Thank you, Auntie. I will definitely come to you for anything in the future. Auntie, what can I do today? Today, most students don't come here to eat and there's nothing to do, so you don't have to do it for now. It's actually my fault. I thought you were lying to me about what you told me yesterday, so I didn't plan anything else. I didn't expect you to actually come today. You can come back tomorrow. Today, Auntie will take some time to arrange for you and strive to give you the maximum benefits. Upon hearing Aunt Huang say this, Su Jiu was very happy. Thank you, Aunt Huang. I will definitely work hard in the future. Okay, Auntie believes you, you go back first. Seeing that Aunt Huang was a bit busy, Su Jiu didn't bother her anymore and didn't know where to go when she left Fanshi. Suddenly remembering, I saw Introduction to Zhixing College in the medical school before, which said that the college has a library that collects a large number of books. He wants to go and see if he can find the specific location of there is a village, because he hasn't found it before. Every time I see the president of the Agricultural Society, he always looks hurried and doesn't give him a chance to inquire. This matter still depends on himself. Upon arriving at the library in the center of the front yard, Su Jiu found it very quiet and did not see any other students strolling around. The library has 3 floors, which look very quaint from the outside. The door on the first floor is open. Su Jiu walked into the library and found it very large. Various books were listed on the bookshelf, and each bookshelf was also classified. Looking around, I saw an old man inside, with white hair and a black robe, reading a book. The old man was surprised when he heard the commotion and looked up to see Su Jiu coming in at the door. He didn't expect someone to come to the library just after the vacation ended. Why haven't I seen you before? Are you here to read or return books? I am the manager of the library, you can call me Mr. Kong. Mr. Kong, I am new and would like to come to the library to read books. New here, are you Su Jiu? I'm Su Jiu, how could Mr. Kong know about me? I heard that in the past, the president of the Agricultural Society approached me for a special recruitment spot. I was thinking of meeting you later and seeing why the president of the Agricultural Society put so much effort into applying for a spot for you. I didn't expect to see you today. You are very nice and worthy of his admiration. Su Jiu once again heard that it's troublesome to apply for special recruitment positions. He doesn't know why the president of the rural community wants to do this, and how should he repay him. It's really a headache. I am also very grateful to the president of the Agricultural Society, but every time we meet, we are in a hurry and don't know how to repay him. Alas, he still has the same temperament. He is still so timid in his actions. He will come to you if he wants to see you. You can't go to the backyard to find him yet, there's something special there. Alright, you go read a book, but remember to keep quiet. If you want to borrow books that interest you, you can come and register with me. After Mr. Kong finished speaking, he continued to read the book in his hand. Su Jiu didn't want to disturb him, so she went to find a book. He first took a rough look and found that there were many types of books here, including agriculture, medicine, history, business, and so on. Unexpectedly, I also saw martial arts, which not only contain books on physical fitness, but also books on prolonging life. Su Jiu couldn't help but sigh. The books in the library were really diverse, which opened his eyes. He decided to come here whenever he had time in the future and try to read all the books here. However, the most important thing now is to first determine the location of Yi village and come to our school area, because he just saw a book called Introduction to the Hengduan Mountains here. He remembers when he read Introduction to Zhixing College before, it said that Zhixing College is located in the central area of the Hengduan Mountains. So he wants to see if there is a record of there is a village in the Introduction to the Hengduan Mountains. He believes that there is a village located somewhere in the Hengduan Mountains. Finding the book, Su Jiu sat down and started flipping through it. He found that the book was constantly being updated. Through this book, he learned that there are other places outside the Hengduan Mountains, and it turns out that this world is very big. The Hengduan Mountains have been ruled for thousands of years, and this millennium is called the Tianheng calendar, which symbolizes eternity and immutability. But since entering the Tianheng calendar, there have been constant natural disasters in the Hengduan Mountains over the past 9 years. Especially this year, 2 natural disasters have had serious consequences, causing people to struggle and suffering. In the end, he finally discovered a record about there was a village in a recent record, and he found that the updated content was written by the president of the rural community. It provides a detailed record of his experience in going to a village, especially since village chief Yu is a very capable person. It is recommended to have more contact and interaction. He finally found out that there was a village in the eastern section of the Hengduan Mountains, which was very remote. The specific route was only known to the president of the agricultural society, and no one else had been to the college yet. Seeing this, he was puzzled as to why the problem had returned to the head of the agricultural society. He was really asked what to do. He closed the book and placed it in the distance, intending to leave. Knowing this result, he didn't want to read any other books today. After greeting Mr. Kong, Su Jiu left the library and didn't feel in the mood to eat. She returned to the courtyard and found that Li Mingxian and Lu Buoyang had also returned. Li Mingxian saw Su Jiu come back and asked, "Su Jiu, what did you do? I just went to your class to find you and said you went out. I went to the Fancy to confirm my work schedule, and then went to the library for a stroll. You're going to work at Fancy. Are you really short of money? If you're short, tell me, I have a lot of money. It's okay, I've already talked to Aunt Huang there, and she said she'll fight for more benefits for me." "Oh, you just got to know Aunt Huang. It's amazing. You didn't know that Aunt Huang is a legendary figure in the college. She not only manages the entire dinner party, but also excels in hand-shaking skills that no one can match. Ah, Aunt Huang is so amazing." "That's amazing. You'll see it in the future. What did you go to the library for? Did you go to read? I didn't expect you to love reading more than the path." Li Mingxuan's words triggered Lu Buoyang, who was seriously reading next to him. He said while reading, "Please don't call me Xiao Lu, thank you. Be careful that I won't make you see the sunrise tomorrow. Just see the sunset, Su Jiu. Let's ignore him and continue our conversation." Afterwards, Li Mingxian began to talk incessantly. Su Jiu greatly admired Lu Buoyang, who was focused on reading beside him, and sometimes he even interjected to ensure that he could make Li Mingxuan's heart ache. After Li Mingxian was stabbed more than 10 times, they ended the conversation and went back to their respective rooms to rest. Su Jiu returned to his room and thought about today's harvest. He entered class 6 and met by Shi and Ma Qingqian again. Ma Qingqian looked as if he was not easy to get along with, hoping that nothing unexpected would happen in the future. After confirming with Aunt Huang about her job responsibilities, she also went to the library and found out the location of There Is a Village. Although I know the location, I still don't know how to get there. I still need to find the farmer's president. As for how to find the farmer's president, I'm not sure yet. I'll inquire more tomorrow. For future arrangements, firstly, establish good relationships with the students in class 6 and strive to be friends with Ma Qingqian, as he is the first person to speak up in class 6. Secondly, schedule your daily time so as not to delay your studies or work at a restaurant. Finally, take some time to go to the library and try to read all the books inside. Chapter 8. Starting College Life. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next morning, Su Jiu came out after washing up and found that Li Mingxian and Lu Boyang had already left. She thought to herself that these two were also quite early. He came out and saw people coming out from other courtyards one after another. It seemed that the nearby courtyards were all occupied, and these students were special students from other classes. Yesterday he learned about these independent courtyards, which are all occupied by specially recruited students. This is a benefit provided by the college. As for the other students, they all live in a row of rooms across from each other, with several people inside. It is said that the conditions are also quite good. Su Jiu came to a small stall and wanted to have breakfast here. He discovered this stall yesterday, and the owner was an old lady named Wei with a slight limp. Yesterday morning, he came out to find something to eat. When he saw that Grandma Wei was selling good food and the stall was clean, he stopped and ordered a portion. It tasted good. There are other students having breakfast here today, and they don't seem to know each other well. They should be from another class. Su Jiu found a seat to sit down and shouted to Grandma Wei, "Grandma Wei, give me a breakfast." "Okay, you can sit down first and it will be ready soon." Grandma Wei began to prepare for him. The student next to him who was eating at a table heard the commotion and saw him. He asked the person next to him who was buried eating, "Do you know who he is? He looks pretty good." The person raised their head and glanced at Su Jiu. "He's the new special recruit from class 6, didn't you hear about him yesterday?" It turned out to be him. "I heard he knows people from the backyard, and I'm not sure if I have the chance to meet them. If you work hard, then you can just get into the backyard by yourself, and then someone will envy you." "That's right, but you don't know either. I don't seem to be learning that material. I heard there are new courses starting this year, and I haven't learned those from last year yet. Learning is so difficult. Oh my. Don't complain, at least you still have a chance to come to the college, and no one else has a chance to come. If you haven't been admitted to the backyard, there will be many powerful forces demanding of you if you go out, and you will have no worries about food and clothing." Su Jiu ignored their conversation and remembered what Grandma Wei had talked about yesterday, knowing that her son and daughter-in-law were actually college workers. They had an accident while participating in an event at the college, leaving only one son for Grandma Wei. The college saw that there were only orphans and widows left in his family, so she asked Grandma Wei to come to the college to sell breakfast to make a living. Su Jiu heard this and felt that the college was quite good. Grandma Wei said that she has also been in the college for a few years and is quite familiar with the students in the college. Yesterday, when he came, she looked at him and asked him who he was. Su Jiu briefly explained his situation to Grandma Wei. Upon hearing this, Grandma Wei felt that he was very pitiful. Not only did he have no news from his parents, but he also had to find ways to support himself. Tell her what he wants to eat in the future, and she will make it for Su Jiu. When she has time, she will introduce him to her grandson, who is of similar age. Su Jiu was thinking that Grandma Wei had already prepared his breakfast and brought it to him. Hurry up and eat. It's time for class today. Eat well and go early. Don't go late and let the teacher scold you. Okay, Grandma Wei. Then Su Jiu started eating, finished eating and paid before telling Grandma Wei to leave. When I arrived at class 6, I found that there weren't many people inside, but Ma Qingchen did come and was lying on the table to catch up. Walking to the seat next to him and sitting down, Ma Qingchen heard the commotion and looked up to see him coming, feeling somewhat surprised. Oh, I didn't expect you to come quite early. I thought you would arrive later. Su Jiu thought to herself, aren't you even earlier than me? No matter how early it is, it's never as early as you. I don't want to stay where I live. My place is not as clean and chaotic as yours, so I come here early every day. Have you eaten yet? I ate it at Grandma Wei's place when I came, and you? I didn't expect you to have found Grandma Wei. It seems that you have adapted quite quickly and well. If you have any questions in the future, you can ask me or Bai Shi too. I haven't eaten yet. I'll bring the white stone to me later. As soon as Ma Qingchen finished speaking, White Stone came and was surprised to see Su Jiu also coming. He gave the things he brought to Ma Qingchen and then said to Su Jiu, Su Jiu, you came quite early. Have you had breakfast yet? If you haven't eaten, let Ma Qingchen share your order. I ate it at Grandma Wei's place when I arrived. That's good. I heard you're in the same courtyard as Li Mingxian and Lu Boyang from class 4, isn't that true? It's in the same yard as them. What's wrong? It's nothing, it's just that someone used to share a courtyard with them, but later for some unknown reason they moved out, leaving them empty and no one to go. I heard they are quite strange and don't have much contact with others. Li Mingxian has a wealthy family and uses money to solve any problems. I don't know why he became a special recruit. As for Lu Boyang's background, it's quite mysterious. No one knows where he comes from yet. Every day, his face turns cold, like who owes him. Usually, Li Mingxian is with him. I was surprised to hear yesterday that you were in the same hospital as them, but upon reflection, it seemed quite reasonable. For some unknown reason, there have been no special students in our class, so there is no independent courtyard that belongs to our class. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been assigned to another hospital to live with other classes. Are you still used to it there? When Su Jiu heard him say this, she thought of spending the past few days with Li Mingxian and Lu Boyang, and felt pretty good about it. They all looked quite easy to get along with. Although Lu Boyang doesn't speak much, he is handsome. Sitting there without speaking is quite pleasing to the eye, while Li Mingxian is a talkative person with endless words to say every day. Fortunately, they all take good care of me. That's good. If you feel uncomfortable living with them, go find He Jiaoshi and ask him to help you adjust it. I also heard yesterday that you know the president of the Backyard Farmers Club. I wonder if it's true or not. Su Jiu thought to herself that Bai Shi too was truly a jack of all trades, having only learned so much in half a day. I think I know each other. The president of the Agricultural Society was my savior and he brought me to the college. He also sent me to our yard and arranged for me to leave. I am quite grateful to him, but I don't know how to find him. Upon hearing Su Jiu say he knew the president of the Agricultural Society, Bai Shi too exclaimed in surprise, do you really know each other? It was he who brought you to the yard. Why didn't I come earlier? Otherwise I would have seen you. You don't know how mysterious those people in the backyard of our college are. I haven't heard any information yet. Nowadays, anyone who enters the backyard remains silent about what's going on there and rarely sees them. Especially the president of the backyard, he is a dragon without a tail. I didn't expect you to really know the president of the farmer. I don't know what he looks like and what's special about him. Su Jiu heard Bai Shi too ask this and thought back for a moment. She didn't feel anything special about the president of the rural community, but every time she saw her in a hurry, she didn't have a chance to ask him anything. I have only seen him twice, and I don't feel anything special. I just feel that he is quite gentle and busy on a regular basis. Seeing that Su Jiu didn't say anything, Bai Shi too was quite disappointed. I heard they all master the secret technique. I don't know what their secret technique is. Su Jiu didn't know what the secret technique Bai Shi too was talking about. Suddenly, he remembered that the doctor in the clinic had used it for him before, as if it was an auxiliary treatment. I remember the time when the farmer told me that when he saw himself unconscious, he also used a secret technique, but it didn't seem to be very useful. Later, he brought himself to the college. When White Stone mentioned it this time, he became curious about what the secret technique was, wondering if it would be helpful for him to find his parents and return to the village. Just as I was about to ask again, He Jiaoshi came. At this moment, Ma Qingchen was finishing his breakfast with Bai Shi too, and the rest of the class also arrived one after another. He Jiaoshi was very pleased to see the excitement coming. Everyone performed very well today, and surprisingly no one was late. I hope we can continue to maintain this in the future. Do you have anything to do first? Let's take care of everyone and see if anyone is feeling unwell and needs to take a leave, or if there are other things to attend to. If anyone raises their hand, let's continue. Today our family has started classes. Everyone should take it easy, listen carefully, and don't behave like before the holiday. You don't know how bad your assessment is, and I can't bear to see it. If you hear any gentleman say that someone is causing trouble in class, let me see how I deal with you. Remember, alright, you guys prepare for today's class. He Jiaoshi finished speaking and left. After He Jiaoshi left, the class became chaotic again, with students either chatting or playing around. Su Jiu had heard He Jiaoshi talk about heart-to-heart several times, so she curiously asked Ma Qingchen next to her, what does He Jiaoshi mean by heart-to-heart talk? Heart-to-heart talk is about He Jiaoshi talking to you about life, ideals, giving you encouragement of love, and then asking you to write your own future plans. I don't want to experience that kind of experience anymore. Upon hearing him say this, Su Jiu felt that Ma Qingchen seemed quite afraid that He Jiaoshi would talk to him, which is why he was so well behaved today. But the gossip he heard about He Jiaoshi outside yesterday was exactly what he said. He could see that He Jiaoshi's face had changed at the time, and he didn't know how to deal with him in the future. Should he tell him? He used to scold the teacher for talking about heart-to-heart, but he didn't expect it to be true. Afterwards, classes began, and Su Jiu found that the pace of courses here was similar to that of private schools in the village, but there were many types of courses here. Not only did he teach basic knowledge, but he also taught martial arts. He finally realized why there was so much martial arts-related knowledge in the library that students were supposed to consolidate. Among these courses, the one he is most interested in is meditation class. He doesn't know what this course is about, but he feels that it may be related to the secret techniques mentioned by White Stone. He asked Ma Qingchen and the others, and they said that this class was newly opened this year and not last year. He began to look forward to my course, wanting to see if he could help him find his parents, and he didn't know how they were or what happened that day. And how should we find the president of the Agricultural Society? Are we just waiting for him to come and find us, but when will he come and find us? Chapter 9. The Corner of the College. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Su Jiu took a look and found that there was no meditation class that he was interested in today's class. Instead, it was the history class that broadened his horizons. Mr. Historian talked about the history of the Hengduan Mountains in this section. He said, "This world is called the spirit realm, and the Hengduan Mountains are just a small area of the spirit realm. Outside the Hengduan Mountains, there are not only various ethnic groups, but also higher-rated colleges. Many people who leave the colleges go to explore outside the Hengduan Mountains. Those who have gone out, some have entered higher-star colleges to study, some have joined powerful forces, and some have become lone rangers, each with different opportunities. Most people go out and never come back, with only a small number returning. They not only have extensive knowledge but also come up with many ideas, which have improved the lives of people in the Hengguan Mountains. So you should study hard and strive to go further to see the scenery there. The students were all extremely excited by what the historian said, wanting to go to the outside world and experience it. After the history class, there is a business class, and Su Jiu is not very interested in this course. Whitestone is very interested in this course, and he said he really likes it. As for Ma Qingchen, he has no interest in any courses and spends every class lying on the table, and the teacher doesn't care about him. At noon, Su Jiu arrived at Fanxi, and Aunt Huang asked him to do some small favors first. After getting familiar with this place, specific arrangements can be made. After finishing his work, Aunt Huang gave him some unsold meals, which were also very rich. After finishing his meal, he returned to class 6 and prepared for the afternoon class, which had a martial arts class. The teacher taught them a set of punches, saying that it can strengthen the body and allows students to practice in their leisure time. Many students didn't take it seriously, but Su Jiu felt it was quite interesting. After the afternoon class ended, he went to work at Fanxi again because they didn't have any classes at night. The college allowed students to arrange freely, and Su Jiu thought of going to the library during this time. Through this day of study, he learned that although he learned a lot in the private school last year, he still has a big gap compared to the students here. So before the farmer brought news from his parents, he wanted to do his best to learn more knowledge, just like last year in a private school, striving to complete it within a year. Afterwards, he had a very full schedule and basically had a fixed schedule every day. In the morning, start by practicing a set of martial arts techniques taught by a martial arts master, and then go to Grandma Wei's place for breakfast, listen attentively in the morning, work at the restaurant at noon, and continue classes in the afternoon. After finishing work at the restaurant in the evening, I went to the library to read books. Other students saw him working at Fanxi and pointed at him, saying that he was a special enrollment student, and even went to work, saying that his behavior was not in line with the nature of special enrollment. He didn't pay much attention to these things because he knew his situation. The farmer's president has not come to him yet, and he hasn't found a way to find him. In fact, he also asked the teacher, and they seemed to be deliberately avoiding this matter, saying they didn't know how to find the president of the agricultural society. He felt like there was something he didn't know about inside. Su Jiu wants to live a simple college life. When the president of the agricultural society thinks of her, she comes to find her, but sometimes trouble always comes to her. There is a person named Han Yaowei in their class, who was mentioned by He Jiaoshi when Su Jiu first arrived, and he hates Su Jiu for it. So he always troubles Su Jiu when he has nothing to do. Su Jiu always takes the opportunity to avoid it, but unexpectedly this time he has someone deceive him and lure him to a corner of the college. The cold kiln guard saw Su Jiu coming and called for someone to surround him. Su Jiu, you're so busy. I can't see anyone every day. Which class's special recruit is like you, still working? I heard your parents haven't heard from you yet. Are you really short of money? Why don't you call me Dad and I'll give you the money? A few people around him burst out laughing and cheered when they heard him say this. Call Daddy. Call Daddy. The commotion here happened to disturb Ma Qingchen, who was resting here. When he heard the commotion, he thought to himself that he had finally found a clean place. Why was he disturbed by someone? He shouted angrily, who the hell is arguing here? Be careful if you're arguing, I'll sew your mouths together. The cold kiln guards shouted, thinking it was someone. Just as they were about to curse back, they were startled to see Ma Qingchen walking out of the corner. They thought there was no one here, but they didn't expect Ma Qingchen to be here. They all know that Ma Qingchen likes to stay in a clean place, but they didn't expect him to be here today. Seeing Ma Qingchen, the cold kiln guard immediately put aside his arrogance and politely said, originally, Brother Xiaoma is here. I'm sorry to disturb your rest. We're leaving now. Ma Qingchen saw Su Jiu among them and asked, do you have anything to do with Su Jiu? The cold kiln guard seemed quite afraid of Ma Qingchen. He didn't dare to say that he wanted to trouble Su Jiu, so he said, "It's okay, I just want to ask him for help with something." "Oh. What's going on?" "Let me tell you, maybe I can help you too." The cold kiln guard thought he would just fool around with a random reason, but to his surprise, Ma Qingchen dug into the truth and didn't know what to say for a moment. Fortunately, someone next to him answered. "Isn't Su Jiu working at Fancy? We're thinking of going to Fancy to cook more food for us in the future." "That's it." "Yes, just this matter, what can we do?" "Haha." The Han Yaowei laughed heartily, and the people next to him also laughed along. "Have you finished speaking? I happen to have something to talk to Su Jiu about. If you don't finish talking and continue, I'll wait a little longer." "It's over, it's over. Let's go, Su Jiu." After Ma Qingchen finished speaking, he took Su Jiu away. Looking at the backs of Ma Qingchen and the others, a person next to him said, "Let him go like this. We're prepared for nothing." The cold kiln guard replied, "Otherwise, dare you provoke Ma Qingchen? Have you forgotten what happened last year? Do you also want to disappear for no reason?" After what he said, the person remembered what happened last year. They had just finished dividing their classes, and someone had offended Ma Qingchen. The next day, the person disappeared without explanation from the college. Later, someone disturbed Ma Qingchen who was resting, and the person disappeared. Later, everyone else learned not to provoke Ma Qingchen, otherwise he would disappear for no reason. After leaving the corner, Su Jiu said to Ma Qingchen, "Thank you for helping me, otherwise I really don't know how to solve this matter." Ma Qingchen didn't answer, just took him to the grocery store and said to him, "I just helped you, can you buy me something to eat? I don't know where White Stone went, I'm a bit hungry." When Su Jiu heard him say this, she felt amused. He was as cold as their courtyard road, either not speaking, or he spoke astonishingly, never knowing what he was going to say. After being harassed by the cold kiln guard and others, Su Jiu also felt a bit hungry, so she replied, "Okay, I'll buy it for you. What do you want to eat?" When Ma Qingchen was asked this question, he remembered that Su Jiu was working at Fancy. Knowing that he didn't have enough money, he suddenly regretted asking Su Jiu to buy him food. "I'm not too hungry either, just buy some casually." Upon hearing what he said, Su Jiu thought for a moment and went into the grocery store. Soon, she came out with a large package of things. Ma Qingchen looked at the thing he was carrying and fell silent for a moment. He didn't know what to do, whether to accept it or give Su Jiu money. He felt that neither was good. At this moment, Bai Shitu returned from somewhere and saw them standing outside the grocery store. He asked, "I just heard that the cold kiln guard is bothering Su Jiu. I wanted to go over and take a look, but I didn't expect you to run into each other here. Su Jiu, are you okay? What are you doing here?" Upon hearing Bai Shitu's concern, Su Jiu said she was fine and then said that Ma Qingchen had helped her out just now, and when she was hungry, she would buy him something to eat. "If you stay away from them in the future and they trouble you again, you can go find He Jiaoshi. I know now, have you eaten it yet, haven't you eaten it together?" After Su Jiu finished speaking, she shook the thing in her hand. White Stone said, "No, I just wanted to go shopping and just listen to that." Su Jiu was quite grateful to him for what he said, and then greeted them to sit on the stone table next to the grocery store. They were chatting while eating, and then Ma Qingchen stopped talking, only Bai Shitu was chatting with him. "Su Jiu, do you know that I feel like you're the least like a special recruitment student? Look at what other special recruitment students are doing. Who is like you, who not only studies hard but also works hard?" As Bai Shitu watched Su Jiu schedule her time so fully every day, she didn't feel like other band admissions were the same. Other band admissions are worry-free, unlike Su Jiu who has to earn money on her own. Other band admissions are respected, but Su Jiu has no presence in their class, and there are even people like Han Yaowei who are bothering him. Perhaps this matter is also related to himself. His nickname is Bai Shitong, and he shared the news of Su Jiu that he had learned with others. Others know that Su Jiu comes from a small mountain village, so they don't treat him much, saying that he had bad luck and became a special recruit. In addition, Su Jiu is not as talented as other bent admissions, which gives others other thoughts about Su Jiu. Su Jiu usually doesn't pay attention to others, which leads to more and more opinions from others towards him as a special recruit, so he will make many small moves. The three of them chatted here for a long time before parting. Su Jiu returned to the small courtyard, and Li Mingxian and the others knew about what had just happened. When they asked him how it was, he said it was okay and everything was resolved. Li Mingxian is quite interested in this matter and even asked him, "Do you want him to help?" He wants the cold kiln guard to experience the power of money. Su Jiu couldn't imagine what he was going to do and quickly said, "No need." Li Mingxian looked regretful when he heard him say this. Finally, Lu Buoyang also told him that if there were any issues in the future, he could seek their help and not solve them on his own. Su Jiu watched them care about him and felt that the college was still good, so he slowly integrated into the college life. A few days later, there was finally the meditation class that Su Jiu had been longing for, and he had been looking forward to it for a long time. The meditation class was attended by several classes together, and this time it was attended by 4, 5, 6, or 3 classes together. It happened to be with Li Mingxian and his class, and they came to the classroom. This is a super large room with all the windows closed, making it very dim inside. Candles are lit on the table in front, and there are cattails on the ground. Su Jiu went in and smelled a fragrance inside, which helped to refresh his mind. He only took a sip and felt that today's fatigue was gone. They had known before that Mr. Feng, the teacher of the meditation class, had a hood over his green robe, and the hat on the hood covered his face tightly. Students are a bit afraid of her when they see her dress up like this, unlike other classes where she moves around. Chapter 10. Meditation Class. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Why does Su Jiu look forward to the meditation class so much? It is because he previously learned that this course is related to entering the backyard, and he believes that the teacher should be very familiar with the backyard, and through him, it is possible to find the president of the rural community. He heard that the grades of this course will also be included in the future backyard assessment, so this course is highly anticipated by everyone. He also heard that taking this course also depends on talent and luck. As for their talents, someone will specifically test them during the college's recruitment assessment. Su Jiu didn't know her talent because she didn't participate in the previous college enrollment assessment. Recently, while reading in the library, he has seen some college admission assessment rules. He remembers one of them being that when the college recruits students, it also checks whether the student has the potential for cultivation. The book states that students with cultivation potential are more likely to enter the backyard than those without cultivation potential. The method to stimulate students' cultivation potential is through meditation classes, which are not specifically recorded in the book. Su Jiu thought that this course was somewhat different from other courses, but fortunately it wasn't offered last year. Otherwise, he wouldn't have known how much he was inferior to his classmates. Su Jiu is, library. I also searched for some books about the potential for cultivation and found out that in the spiritual realm, people who are capable of cultivation are referred to as spiritual officials. He believes that Dr. Fong and the president of the Agricultural Society should be the spiritual officials. As for why he says so, it is recorded in the book that the spiritual officials both hold secret techniques and have shown them to him. The book records that in order to become a spiritual official, one needs inspiration, and as for how to have inspiration, this started a long time ago. According to legend, a long, long time ago, the human race in the spiritual realm was very weak and bullied by various ethnic groups. In order for the human race to survive, they need to make changes. Some people start by imitating the 100 clans and exploring a path suitable for the human race's cultivation. At the beginning, the path was not yet perfect, and there were many uncertainties in cultivation. However, through the continuous efforts of the human ancestors, the complete path of cultivation today has emerged. Later, people came up with a famous practice saying, the stage is as big as the mind. Currently, Lingguan is divided into 8 major realms. Inspiration, enlightenment, spiritual realm, spiritual platform, spiritual transformation, spiritual realm, and spiritual space. Each realm is divided into 9 levels, with each third level being a small level. Legend has it that there is a higher realm, but no one has ever seen that realm. The highest realm here in the Hengguan Mountains belongs to the spiritual transformation realm of the Deen, which is obvious and also follows the example of some old monsters from each faction and family. If you want to practice now, the first step is to meditate in your child between the ages of 8 and 14, as this is the optimal period. Why go to meditation? Because you need to capture that glimmer of spiritual light through meditation. If you succeed in capturing it, congratulations, you have the hope of becoming a spiritual official. As for how to meditate. In fact, there are different ways of meditation in every place, and the meditation method of the Knowledge and Action Academy is meditation, which achieves spiritual unity through meditation. Mr. Feng has been teaching meditation classes at Chukshuatang for over 30 years and is very experienced in capturing inspiration for students. Each class of students has some who perform well as some who perform poorly. He doesn't know how the students are performing this year, and hopes to be better than in previous years. After all, this is her last class. Seeing all the students coming in, she didn't know what to do. She reminded everyone, first find a cattail and sit cross-legged. Remember to keep quiet and not speak loudly. Upon hearing Mr. Feng's words, all 3 students in the class followed his instructions and sat down with a cattail. Su Jiu found a corner seat, but unexpectedly, Li Mingxian and Lu Boyang also sat here. The room was too dark just now, and he didn't see them clearly here. He thought they were somewhere else, but he didn't expect them to be here. They saw Su Jiu sitting down and nodded at him. Today, Li Mingxian was very quiet, feeling a bit afraid of Mr. Feng. As for Whitestone and Ma Qingchen, because the room was too dark and the students were all wearing uniform orange robes, he didn't see where they were sitting. Mr. Feng saw that the students were all seated and emphasized again, all the seats have been selected, everyone remember their own positions. In the future, I will sit in this position for my class and do not change positions randomly. Also, in my class, I must remember to keep quiet at all times and raise my hand if you have any questions. If someone is making noise for no reason, then don't come to my classes in the future. Seeing that some students below didn't seem to take this sentence seriously, he added, I don't care if you listen or not, I'll tell you what I'm saying today. I know that children in your age group are playful and active. But my class is very special and has a lot of impact on your future. So remember what I said, don't have a mentality of taking chances, I will do what I say. If you really ask me to go out then, please remember, if you want to come back for class, there's no way, no one will come to clean up. Every year, I invite out a few students. I wonder how many of you have been invited out of this session. Cough cough cough. Mr. Feng coughed as he spoke, paused for a moment, picked up the teacup on the table, and took a sip of water. The students below were somewhat frightened by what Mr. Feng said, and coupled with the atmosphere in the room, they dared not make any further small moves. Seeing that the students were all honest, Mr. Feng began his class. All right, I won't go into too much detail. Let's start our class now. Many students should meditate for the first time and don't know how to do it. Don't worry, I will tell you the method. Remember, if you want to meditate, first you need to be calm, then empty your mind, and finally catch that flash of spiritual light. I know many students have already mastered other meditation methods and don't want to hear what I'm saying, but you should know that what I'm saying is also helpful for your meditation. Come on, now everyone is telling me to do it. After Mr. Feng finished speaking, he took out a bell from his sleeve and shook it in his hand. Ding-ling, the sound of the bell rang in the room. Now everyone close your eyes. Su Jiu followed suit and closed her eyes. Mr. Feng shook the bell in his hand again and said, "Ding ling. Empty your mind, don't think about anything, feel it." Su Jiu followed Mr. Feng's advice, but couldn't let go of his mind. He either thought about what his parents were like, or how to find the president of the agricultural society. These ideas lingered in his mind. Mr. Feng shook the bell in his hand a few more times and saw that everyone's breathing became calm, and he even heard snoring. He didn't mind this phenomenon anymore. Half an hour later, Mr. Feng shook the bell in his hand again, and the sound of ding-ling rang again. "All right, everyone can wake up. Those who are sleeping also wake up. Those who are not awake, let the person next to them shout." Some students below were awakened by the sound of bells, while others were awakened by others. Seeing everyone open their eyes, Mr. Feng announced the end of class. "This class is over, I know everyone hasn't succeeded. Don't lose heart, you still have many opportunities. Let's see each other next time." The students saw Mr. Feng leave and began to discuss, "I don't know anything, do you feel anything?" "Why don't I feel anything?" Number 34, "I don't either, I seem to have fallen asleep." Number 34, "There are negative aspects, what exactly is the spiritual light that Mr. Feng said? How can I not feel it? Am I too stupid? How should I tell my parents? They have high expectations of me, and I don't want to be disappointed, but I just didn't feel it." Someone seems to have that feeling. "Do I feel something?" Someone heard him say this and immediately surrounded him. "Tell us quickly, what is that?" "I can't say for sure, it seems like there's some light, but it doesn't seem like there's any." Everyone was quite disappointed when they heard him say something like he didn't say. People who have experienced meditation before disdainfully smiled when they saw everyone like this, thinking about what they thought meditation was. If it was really that easy, who would come to the academy? "All right, stop talking, the next class is about to start." Upon hearing what he said, everyone was running outside because they had not yet solved their personal problems. What if they couldn't speak in class? Su Jiu also heard everyone say that she thought to herself whether she had successfully blocked those ideas, but how to block them. If you don't understand, then you don't think anymore. Say hello to Li Mingxian and the others, and then go back to class 6 for the next class. Then he went to work at Fancy at noon, and today Aunt Huang left him a fish. "You're still growing your body, you should eat more good food and not be too frugal." Su Jiu thanked Aunt Huang and ate the fish, feeling that it tasted pretty good. In the afternoon, he continued his classes, and in the evening, after finishing his meal, he went to the library. He wanted to find books about meditation, but couldn't find them. I happened to see Mr. Kong, the manager of the library, drinking tea there and wanted to ask him. I came to Mr. Kong's place. "Excuse me, Mr. Kong. May I ask you a few questions?" Mr. Kong looked up and saw Su Jiu, smiling as he said, "It's you, little one. I see you come here every day, but I haven't seen such a bookish student in a long time. Just ask any questions you have." "Mr. Kong, I don't know how to meditate quickly." "Oh, you've started teaching meditation, time flies so fast. When it comes to meditation, there is no shortcut, we can only take it slowly. Some people are fast, others are slow, and it's not urgent." Upon hearing Mr. Kong's words, Su Jiu was quite disappointed. There was no shortcut, so he asked again, "How should we block our thoughts?" "Block your thoughts? At your age, what thoughts do you have? Do you know why the most suitable age for meditation is between 8 and 14 years old? It's because children at this stage don't have too many thoughts. What thoughts do you have?" "I'm thinking about my parents' affairs, and I also want to talk to the president of the rural community." Upon hearing Su Jiu's words, Mr. Kong remembered Su Jiu's experiences. He had indeed experienced these things with more thoughts than others. "Don't think too much, you need to organize your thoughts well. I believe you will succeed soon. As for the president of the agricultural society, he hasn't been at the college recently and has been out for some business. When he comes back, I'll tell him you're looking for him. Su Jiu was very happy to hear Mr. Kong say this. It turned out that the president of the Agricultural Society has not been in the college recently, and he still wondered why he hasn't come to find him. Thank you very much, Mr. Kong. I won't disturb you for now, I'll leave first. As he watched Su Jiu leave, Mr. Kong thought to himself, it seemed like the farmer had been out for a while this time. I heard that there were also people from the medical officer who had been out for a long time without coming back. Did they encounter any trouble?